one of the names of a quarterback who some think could end up rising to the top of next year's draft board is Drew Allar. Emory Hunt, on who Drew Allar reminds him of.
You mean Drew Bledsoe? Like he we grew up, Ross, where a guy like Allen would have been a clear cut number one overall pick. But the game has changed a little bit, where you got to be a little bit more athletic, and Aller can move around a little bit. But his throwing motion and his arm always reminds me of Drew Bledsoe, who I was a big fan of at Washington State, and also when he was first overall with the Patriots, instantly made those guys relevant and led them to a Super Bowl in '97. So Drew Aller has skills. I think he's a pro quarterback. I know when you try to see the discussion on social media, it's always he's great or he stinks. But the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Like, yes, he has some inconsistencies that you want to see him work through.
It's a local guy that I've seen on the field as a high school player a number of times, have stood there and watched him throw. He has a cannon for an arm.
Oh, no.
I kind of thought Penn State hasn't figured out how to use him. I will say he ran a 5 wide, and he's more athletic than a lot of people think.
I think with the thing with Allar, and this is probably going to be good for him because there was so much success last year with Tyler Warren. And look, it's not like the NFL, doesn't, have great value at the tight end position. But there wasn't much like wide receiver work that you saw from Allar, certainly from a successful standpoint. And, with a quarterback and, with a quarterback of the size of Drew Allar, what does everybody want to see? They want to see the howitzer. They want to see the 15 to 17 yard out pattern. They want to see you basically bury a 20-yard dig into the dead center of a wide receiver's chest. And that's something Allar's going to get probably the opportunity to do this year. Not like Penn State won't have another good tight end. They always do. But it's really hard to believe that whatever tight end comes in this year for Penn State is going to be, as good as the guy who went 14th overall in this past draft. Drew Allar definitely has talent. But there are going to be some other guys, and one of the ones I truly like, and he may be a guy that necessarily doesn't come out, but from South Carolina, Lenora Sellers, because, you're getting into this era where, a quarterback with limited mobility to average mobility is kind of a dinosaur. These kids now are taken at 11 and 12 years old and, oh, hey, you're the best athlete we got. We're going to put you at quarterback. We'll teach you how to throw. We'll teach you how to read defenses. But guess what? If you don't have to, and you can just take the ball and create 10 yards, 20 yards, 60 yards, that's great too. But it's going to certainly, it should be a fun fall. Unlike last year, as far as just monitoring overall collegiate quarterback play as be relative to the draft. And certainly for the Browns, as long as they hold those 2 first-round selections, as much as everybody planted their flag one way or the other this year, it could certainly be interesting next year when maybe people are planting flags, but maybe it's 3 or 4 different flags on the quarterbacks that could be available in the 26 draft class.